Hey everyone, and welcome to another live stream series where we're going to be covering the ins and outs of World Creator. Now, typically my live streams are focusing more on tutorials or guide-based content on how to teach you World Creator and the ins and outs of the program. But in this one, we're going to be tackling a brand new topic. Well, actually, we're going to be creating something for a change. So, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at how to use World Creator to design different biomes based on a hexagon pattern, which is also based on one of my favorite tabletop board games. And this board game is the very popular Settlers of Catan. Now, in Catan, you have different hexagon shapes that represent different biomes. Each one of these biomes will give you different resources in order to build roads, towns, or cities. Basically, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be opening up World Creator and we're going to design these different hexagon biomes based on the board game. Then we're going to be exporting each of these tiles, so to speak, for our final use by creating a Catan board, or in this case, a sort of life-size Catan board in Unreal Engine 5. This entire process will be done by a sort of live stream format, but I may insert some creative guides here and there, as well as some cinematic fly throughs and some different rendering tests to kind of showcase what we're going to be doing. This is a fun, sort of chill live stream, so if you'd like to join, please head on over to twitch.tv/23 Mr. T-Bone. I'll have a link in that into the description below. So with that, head on over to Twitch or continue following this video into the next series, and I look forward to seeing you. You make a really good landscape in such a few clicks. I mean, that's just... Oh, speaking of which, let's change the precision from 1 meter to a quarter meter, and we'll just make it look a little nicer, add a little bit more detail. Transparent mask background. So yeah, you can't do that yet you can't use transparent masks with biomes just yet, but we are going to do that for the filters. So we'll go through and redesign the actual tile for Catan here in a second. But what I would like to do is go ahead and actually, if I can remember how to do this now. So we're going to go to design and we're going to add a height map. So in this height map doesn't really matter where this is, because this height map will take precedent over anything that's here because of how we're going to be generating this. So we'll just do it at the very top. It doesn't really matter. So what we'll want to do now, let's go ahead and click none and we can add that height map. So we're going to go to my folder structure, my Settlers of Catan folder, and we're going to choose that mask with the white hexagon. And now you're probably thinking this is not what was advertised. This is crazy. So now what we need to do is we need to then tell where World Creator is going to apply this height map. So we know that this height map is black down here and white up here, but we then want to mask out the height map and tell it to remove the part of it that's up here. So it's kind of weird. So we're telling it that the only part of the height map that we want it to use is the black part. So in order to tell World Creator that we only want to use the black part instead of the white part, we then have to mask the height map. So that's where the add distribution rule is going to come into. So add distribution rule, click a mask. This is becoming more of a tutorial than just hanging out. But this is at least the tutorial part to kind of tell you how to do this hexagon shape. All right, so then we're going to click the mask and we can create a new mask. Let's choose 4096 by 4096 because that's the resolution of the mask that we created, and it matches this height map too. So we're going to click create, and you can see that we can actually paint here and it'll remove a chunk of that, which represents the black. So we're basically painting in black here, and that's why it's reducing what's here. So let's go ahead and undo that. I'll just start back from scratch for you guys. So we're going to click mask. We're going to select 4096, create, but this time we're going to click import. And now we're going to use the texture that is the black hexagon. So because we're telling World Creator that we're wanting to use this white part of this map, this height map only. So we're going to click this and click open. And don't worry, it's because the orientation is weird. So the orientation of these two don't match up for some weird reason. So we're going to, wherever this rotation is, we're going to rotate it by 30 degrees. And now they roughly match up. But what we want to do is then set this operation mode, this operation mode for the area to subtract. All right. And then we can just change this up. Aha. See, now this is producing a completely different result than what I had earlier. I know I did subtract. Let's see if I did all this. I can't remember if I even did this now. Mixed up using black and white. Oh, hold on, wait. Maybe I did do that. Nope, I didn't. I know I used that. Now we're seeing all the mess ups. I think that's what it was, the blend value here. Hold on. Yeah, the blend value needed to be right in the middle. Yeah. So add, yes. So we have to subtract it. And then don't worry about these edges. This is part of fixing it later. So that's what it was. I totally forgot about the blend value of this. So before the mask, after the mask. This is actually a really trippy effect. Nothing wrong with learning while we're hanging out. That's right. So this is ultimately what I was trying to do. So if we were to remove these effects, yeah, and it doesn't really matter. We can, yeah, there we go. And this offset, I think I put this up too high. That's what it was. There was one that was little. Yeah, so we can now change the height of the whole thing. It's really weird, isn't it? So I don't want it to look like it's a crater, or unless we do want part of it to look like a crater. It's kind of cool, even though this little guy, I need to probably re-import the height map so that it's not quite to the edge. But when you do this, and I think it was about we'll smooth these out. So I think I had my other one at about 100 on the height offset. There we go. All right, now we're in business. Shrink the mask attack. Yeah, we could, but it doesn't matter right here, because what I'm going to do is, let me turn this down so we can see some of it, what we're doing, just a smidge. Don't worry about this, because we're going to, for Catan, I want the Basically, I want, for an example, I'm going to hide the height map. I want all of this to kind of be in the center. I don't want to have to worry about clipping the edges too much. So one thing that you could do is you could try zero edge, which would help, or border blend. You can do border blend. Though zero edge is kind of I think a little bit better one in this case. And that kind of helps us get into the ballpark. But let's turn off this. So now we have what looks like what we had before. And we can adjust this a bit more if we want. But what I want to get it close enough to where it's kind of smooth, because in the game, you see these are towns, these tiny little houses. And they don't have a city on the board, but you see right here where my mouse is, there's one that looks like a larger house that represents a city. And the path in between the hexagons marked by these rectangular pieces is the road. So I'm also wanting to make sure that these spaces on each part of the hexagon are relatively flat-ish, so that you could potentially put some sort of settlement, and the path along this spline here, this edge, is also relatively flat. So I don't want to completely hide. Whenever we bring this into Unreal Engine 5, I don't want to hide the seam necessarily. I kind of want to show that there's a seam there, because in the editor we could actually make a road there, or we can add some mesh to or other landscape stuff to kind of blend that stuff together if we want. But I want to get this generally as close to flat as possible. So what we can do is, in this mask, we can edit the mask. So we've imported the mask in here, so it's always going to use that import. The only problem is, once you go to edit this, if you try to re-import the mask, it's going to delete what you've painted. So I kind of wish, and this is one of the sort of features I've pointed out, is for painting to have layers within the painting. Or technically, I guess we could try, let's try another mask. A second mask. This is experiment here. Ooh, there we go. Ooh, look at that. All right, so let's clear. Ooh, hold on a minute. Multiply or subtract or add. Interesting. I'm trying to see if we can. All right, so we did that, and we smooth some of that out. So this does nothing, but what we do there is remove some of that. Interesting. So if we add some of it back, it's going back to the original. So that's kind of a non-destructive way, I guess, to do it, but that's not what I want to do. Let's go back to the mask with the the mask that's imported, and we're going to make the smooth really 100%, and then we're going to make the brush strength about 10%. So if we add some of this back, well, that's not very smooth now, is it? A spline road in Unreal Engine would merge the borders, I think. Yeah, adding a road in between would merge the borders. But I think I'm not sure if I really want a road fitting over all of the hexagons. We'll probably do in Unreal, do a town on some of them and have roads connecting to some of them. I would eventually like, instead of the road being in Unreal, instead of being super straight, to have like, to kind of go with the topography a little bit to make it feel a little bit more natural, but still feel a little bit gamey. All right, let's do this. Oh, I bet I know why it's doing that. Hold on a sec. Ah, haha. It is my precision level. So I think we can. There we go. So that's pretty smooth. So I'm basically just adding to the mask here, or adding some of the white for the mask, and I am smoothing out the edge. Now I'm not worried about completely masking it out like some of this tapered stuff here, because in Unreal or in Photoshop, what I'll do is I'll take the mask itself, the which one? Whatever my height map export is from World Creator, I will just multiply those together in Photoshop with this one, so that the black is sharp and super black on where the red is. And what I'm doing now is just painting sort of where I want it to be a little smoother along the edge. So it's kind of like custom painting some of these pieces a little bit. And there we go. So we have generally sort of a what we're after here, this general shape. Same issue I had in World Creator 2, the fall off leaves and edge. Yeah, that's because the in this case, for this particular mask, the detail of the fall off was greatly dependent on the level strengths here. If I were to increase the level strengths all the way, you can see I'm painting based on all of these levels. And so if I were to reduce some of this detail, you can see that fall off is becoming a little bit more blurred. Or what we could do is, let me get out of this mask mode. If we wanted to, this is actually a really good side to see this. Can you guys hear me all right? Could you use Photo Editor for the mask? Yes, you could use that was one of the other things that I was going to do was, let's see, let's just go ahead and we can open this in something called Photoshop. Of course, this is a new computer parts, so I haven't opened much on this computer yet since I replaced the CPU, RAM, motherboard, and graphics card. Let's open this up. I'll open that up real quick. We can also do it here. So this mask will add an effects plus icon. We can blur it some. And let's say the blur strength is really blur. We could blur the edges, but man, that's really, let's see. Oh, this is blurring the entire thing. I know we can detect I'll figure that out. But this was the way that, at least the easiest way to get that smoothed in some. So then on this one, we could just add see how Gaussian blur does. Yeah. So there's no blur here. And then we can just blur that some and make it a little bit more smooth. So then the edges could be a little bit more blurred, or we can do that again. Let's see how much we want to do. Could really do that. Have the transition really, that's probably what we could do eventually, is really blur these edges, shrink the scale of this and blur the edges some. I want to shrink it while you're there. I'm not going to do that just yet. I want to see about, because I don't care so much about blurring it for World Creator's sake, because I do want to try and design it based on knowing where that edge is. Because really, like I said before, when I export the height map out of World Creator, I'm then going to just bring the exported height map from World Creator into Photoshop, and I'll merge the blurred mask, that other hexagon shape that we created, like I just showed you in Photoshop, and I'll merge them there so that I can make sure that if I wanted to blur the edge, I could really blur the edge there. And that would probably, I would say, be the smoothest route. But here, so that I could see a little easier, let's add another material. I'm just going to do this for our visual sake here. Add a mask. There we go. We can kind of see that edge a little bit. So this is a pretty striking water edge. This is what I had before, but to get that one image that you guys saw, I had to make the water here in this, or this blue in this example, white. Make the outside. That's the, hey, listen, look, that's the idea. We're going now to get this shape here, the actual water. I'm thinking of creating a secondary sort of landscape that has a height map with the outside hexagon shape. That way I can import that sort of version of it in Unreal. I'm still kind of on the fence of how we're going to do that, but essentially, yes, the outside of all of the hexagons are going to be water. So it'll be like this. The cool thing about this process is that I hadn't thought that we could create a shape like this in World Creator. Yeah, the process seems pretty straightforward, except for it would be monumental if I could just say, hey, I want to create a biome, but I want the biome to be just in this mask that I created. Granted, you will still have to, like I did before, shape the edge of this sum to kind of smooth out. But, you know, we did that here within the height map. So I'm using the texture blue to kind of cut it a little bit. And filters is, yeah, it seems pretty straightforward. And I don't think, let me put this height map down here. Yeah, I didn't think it made a difference, since this height map is going to, its operation is subtracting from the full scope of this layer stack. And we're kind of controlling where it's being subtracted from, which in this case, again, is just the watercolor. It's sort of in command of everything. So if I were to add, holy smokes, it's adding just to that location. You can use set. I did use set, but set doesn't, the set operation tells World Creator that whatever the height offset is that's what that level is. And it still considers this blue area as part of the generation. But we didn't want that. We want it to literally be a mask and subtract from the terrain, which is what subtract is for. Well, yeah, that's another thing. Whenever we go to actually do this in Unreal, I'll just resize this here. Like at some point in the global settings or maybe the biome settings, I'm not quite sure where they're going to put it. There's going to be the terrain tile size, and we'll do that. I'll make sure that it's the Unreal's sizing for sure. I would like these to be 4K from point to point. So it's weird, from this point to this point is the same direction as all the other points. So really I just need to make sure that from one point to another point is the full scope of the texture. And honestly, if this is 4096 by 4096, then I know Unreal is going to crop that off. So what I would probably do is either in Photoshop just take all the textures and run through a batch process and rescale them for 4033, or I could just, like you said, I could technically in Photoshop scale just these 2 points to 4033 and keep the rest of the shape of the terrain here as 4096, but I don't want there to be any issues on Unreal's side to try to cut that. I'd rather it just be a straight 4033. It's weird if custom scaling isn't here by the time we actually export these tiles for Unreal, because we've got some tiles to create. I'll just run a batch process. Actually, I can run a batch process through Lightroom. I can take all these images in Lightroom and then scale them all down. I could super sample them all down to, what I could do is I could super sample them up to the next resolution above 4033, and then I'm going to scale them down then in Unreal. See, that's one thing that's nifty to consider is you don't have to have the exact configurations for Unreal, because if I wanted a 4K terrain, like a 4033 terrain in Unreal, I can make whatever it is, what is it, a 8081 or something like that, whatever the 8K variant of Unreal's landscape is, I can import that resolution and then downscale it to be 4K, and it would be a super sampled resolution terrain as 4K, or I can import a 4033 terrain in Unreal and scale that up to 100%, and it would just be the equivalent of me changing the precision level to something higher. It's no different. I know 8192 is the resolution beyond 4096, but what's Unreal's? Unreal's isn't 8192, I didn't think. I thought it was a weird, or maybe it is 8192. I digress. Does this seem exciting to you guys, to be able to create something as unconventionally shaped as this, and we're going to export that into Unreal? I want to create Settlers of Catan and sort of like a cinematic thing in Unreal, which will be pretty cool. You're hyped, dude. I'm excited for it too. We're gonna definitely create some stuff. Do it. All right, so this was sort of the stream to kind of showcase this hexagon pattern, and I don't know if I'll do this weekly or this particular thing bi-weekly. Next week, I was thinking of doing a stream on showcasing the export process to Blender. But if you guys like this, I don't mind just having a weekly stream on Mondays like this, at least part of the stream, to do multiple terrains of this degree. Let's see here. I'm going to turn off the blue for a minute. Oh, so what I'm going to which I mentioned before, I want to make each one of these tiles a little bit different. And I know conventionally what I would like to do for the clay areas where you get brick, and maybe some of the rock areas and timber areas, they have collection systems. Like I want for the rock and clay area to model something in here like a quarry. I'm going to be making some other sort of black and white shapes like this hexagon as stamps. And probably the next stream after this, we're going to focus on the clay color here in a minute. But I want to create, say, on this hillside, let me turn the stupid sun around and dial the sun strength back. All right, so say on this hillside, I want to create a quarry that cuts into this hill, and we have pieces of boulders of clay or dirt and stuff. So I want to actually, instead of just creating a terrain, start shaping this with some like factory ideas implied. Let's see, he's got it. So 8129. See, I knew it wasn't 8192. I knew it was a weird variant. So 8129. So yeah, 129 components, or 129 squares, 4 components, 2 by 2. I don't know I can't remember the terminology. Yeah, I got that. I'm more the Unreal Engine fan base, so Catan tiles get my vote. That's off Unreal site. Okay, thanks Kiwi. Yeah, I figured it was like that, and I want to say at some point that they were going to allow conventional tiles, but they have their reasonings for doing it that way. All right, let's see what our base terrain can do for us here. So dry canyon. I think I did. I want to say, I know I did 2 wides. Wonder, I know, wait, was it this one? That one's not bad. I know I did this one. Ridge flows. Okay. How is it? You know, weirdly enough, this rocky hard is not quite showing it for me there. I remember I did do the canyon. I believe I did the canyon before. Make mesh landscape and it won't matter. Well, this is true. Actually, that's what I have done before. I've just brought in, I've showed you on the last stream, I've created just meshes and brought those in, and it doesn't matter at that point. This one's interesting. See how much we can, let's take all that down a tad. Actually, hold on, let me see what my FPS is, because I have 70. Man, this engine's a hog. I want to denoise it. I don't know. We're just experimenting, guys. That's why. Let's go. Well, that's fine. Let's keep it like that for a second. We're just having fun. Lots of high poly, lots of mesh. Does World Creator 3 export OBJs? Yes, it does. We'll do mesh, format, OBJ. and does FBX as well. And these are the 5 export options you have right now for meshes. But OBJ, I think OBJ worked for me. I can't remember. I had some issues with either OBJ or FBX, and I can't remember which one it was. But yeah, you can export those for sure. Denoise does really interesting, like sort of terracey looking. Maybe it didn't there for a second. Kind of adds some rockiness. Oh, what we could do, we could denoise just the smooth tops. Let's see. Let's do convex. That is interesting. So we could just denoise that, and then we could noise offset that just a smidge. Maybe more than a smidge. I think the cavity ought to be a tad smaller. I don't know. We're experimenting. I do think Canyon still provides some really interesting effects, but maybe we don't want it to influence the terrain that much. I'm doing some things procedurally first, and then we'll hand sculpt, hand carve some things away later on. There you go. A really high poly mesh and apply nanite. This is true. We could just apply nanite to see. Nanite still kind of works with some aspects to a landscape, I think. Don't quote me on that. That does produce a very interesting outcome. Now we're kind of getting to a level that I'm thinking, except for these base here. I kind of like this. That was 4096 would be fine, right? Oh yeah, that way 4096. Yeah, 4096 landscape I think would be fine. I don't know how I got so off with what we were trying to implement here. Oh, rocky cliffs. Oh wow, hold on a minute. That one's pretty intense. I don't want it to be... Of course, we can all do this together. There's nothing saying that we can't. I'm trying to get a good sense. Actually, deflate might be pretty cool because then... Hold on. Let's try this for a second. Deflate is interesting because then we can really increase some of the crevices, but let's double click link to reset it. But I don't want it to really do it this much. Let's then add a angle modifier to it. Oh, that angle didn't work. Oh, there it is. Something weird going on there. Actually, what? That's a weird effect. Now we're gonna get rid of that. Rocky plateaus look nice. Let's try that. Dry rocky plateaus. Rocky plateaus do look nice, but let's change the height on that because I don't want the lower level to be affected. How about we'll do a little bit of a blur, not that much blur. And then, man, there's some new ones that I haven't seen. Oh, yeah. That's interesting. I forgot we could do this. Nope. This is pretty cool. I totally forgot we could change the curve. It's a pretty wild effect. The red and white is your fast. No. This is showing me where the dry rocky plateaus is being applied to. So it's just the heat map. I don't have fast renderer on right now. Actually, here's a good idea. How about we save this? Because we haven't saved the entire time. So, all right, so if this was my test, I'm going to, there we go. This is going to be the, what's this terrain sort of called? It's the bricks, it's the clay. Let's just call it the clay area. And we'll call this particular project clay. Can't type. Don't judge me. Clay 1. There we go. So this is the Clay 1 project. Wait, there's a curve editor for the height mask? I think it's... Ooh, hold on. Well, no, it's... that's a good point. Let me hide all of these. So I don't know if that curve editor, I think the curve editor is part of the version that everybody has, I think, but don't quote me on that. I am not 100% sure. So let's see what this does. I've hidden all the other filters. We're gonna figure this out together. So there's the, well, we know what the mask is, but let's use the curve editor for the mask itself. Let's see what this does. Oh, look at that. So it does. That's pretty cool. Well, this guy needs to come down some. This isn't going to be final. We're just experimenting. That's okay. So now we've learned some stuff today, folks. And there's distances too, so you can move the distance of the notch. So we can affect This is really interesting. I mean, look, it's kind of, it's so cool how we can just clip some of this up. So we don't want to, let's see. This could be a video all on its own. All right, let's double click and reset. If we do a slight curve, that is pretty wild. Huh. All right, so maybe we should not talk about it if, in case we drop you in it. No, that's fine. Okay, no, yeah, the curve graph is there under those FX. I'm just dumb. No, you're not dumb. It's not, there's a lot of extra effects icons here that weren't really quite, we didn't really quite showcase a whole lot at first. Can you use the curve to make a hexagon? I don't believe so. Let's see what, there's angle, blur, blur, clamp, contrast, curve, denoise, edge, flow, invert. No, I didn't think about invert. We could invert, and we could invert the mask. There, I forgot about that. So technically, we could have used the same exact texture that we used for the height map and just inverted it. So this is actually kind of interesting. Say you have a very futuristic platform like in Halo or something, because in Halo Infinite, everything's like a hexagon. We can make a hexagon platform. Remap, simple flow, smooth step, splatting, and splatting is really fun. Let's see what remap options are for us. I knew this, regenerates the direction of the mask. Wait. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. All right, let's add these back. So rocky plateaus, we did that. So this is interesting because we could add another height with a curve that's another section that's lower. I'm not going to get into adding multiple masking effects just yet, because that's a lot of trial and error to get that just right. So far this, except this, let's see. I mean, I can kind of see this one having some very clay things. I think if we kept this one, let's see what's over here. Let's see what this side looks like. Sorry for my moving around. How about we go back to the height map, mask, edit. Man, we really need this brush strength really low. Let's cut this. I'm just kind of using the height map below to kind of sculpt this. Instead of using the custom base shape, I'm just using the resolution of the height map to kind of sculpt some of this down, because maybe I want to create a little inlet right here. See, I'm just doing single strokes really casually. Just shaping it up a little bit. Let's see, we've gone for an hour and 10 minutes. I'm not going to go too much longer here. Because I got other life things to focus on. So if you guys like this, I'll leave it up to you. We can continue this particular one next Monday, or we can focus on a Blender tutorial, which I have to actually prepare for that. This I don't have to, oh no, this I don't have to prepare too much for. Hold on. Oh no, hold on. Some of the sculpting stuff needs to be a little different. And actually, I have an idea. So let's take, before we end the stream today, I can colorize this. Oh, I'd really like to see how you tackle that inset quarry look of human interaction on the landscape. Or was that when you're in Unreal? No, that's the, I'm planning on tackling that quarry inset look here within World Creator. I'm going to try my best to do that quarry look here first, and things like the equipment or some of the tools, and we'll dress it up in Unreal. But no, I'm going to do the bulk shape of that here by using clever ways of using this height map stamping. So we're going to stamp different things, whichever spins your wheels from my point of view. Well, I'm all about getting whatever you guys enjoy the most. So if you enjoy this, then we'll do that. What I could do is how about I do this? I will keep this particular stream focused on Mondays, and then the YouTube tutorial stuff I'll try to do on weekends. Specifically. So we'll that way it's easily and consistent for you guys. We'll just do this every Monday if we can. And I'll figure out a different day to do like the more tutorial stuff. That's the very first one would be World Creator to Blender, which you can already figure out how to do really on your own. But I'm just going to go ahead and help out there some. All right, this is what I was wanting, finally. All right, so I wanted to use this erosion real quick, but I wanted to mask it. I wanted to mask it just to, I feel like I wanted to mask it. Let's see, where can we, oh, this side right here. Kind of like right through here, add just the talus erosion. So radius and smoothness down some, 2%. Let's see what 10% looks like. So we're going to add a smidge. Ooh, maybe we should add a little bit more. There we go. We can actually see it now. We will clean this up in a bit. There we go. Let's remove it from the edge. I don't want it to overdo the edge just yet. Look at there. So this is just part of moving things around and designing. So this is where, actually we could just edit this mask some. This is where we're going to be adding the talus erosion. And it's kind of the area that I was wanting, I think that I want to do it. Of course, we can add little strips of this sort of erosion on other sides. Just a little bitty strip, like, let's say our radius is there and smoothness is super high. Let's say we want to I am subtracting. Let's say we want to add a little bit there. How does this look? Not bad. Now my brush is missing. Let's try that again. Oh no, my brush disappeared. Oh, wow. Never mind. My brush did not disappear. It's just super tiny. There we go. And say we have just a smidge of a little piece here. Looks a little different than I had in my mind, but that's part of the process. Oh, let's see. Okay. Bridges are the new in thing for moving between apps. So I guess, I know one thing that's going to be a hot commodity is the bridge tool between World Creator and Unreal Engine 5. And we'll definitely cover some of those aspects. And so don't worry about that. There we go. And let's see, I don't want the... Let's see. $30 degrees. Let's change it to 24. I want it to blend a little bit better. Blur that mask a smidge more, maybe a lot more, or maybe a lot more. Oh, it's really not changing that much, is it? Speaking of bridge, say a bridge World Creator to Blender, maybe. I have no idea if there's going to be a bridge to Blender, but when I show you the process, it's pretty darn easy. It's nothing to really. I don't even know if there's much need for a bridge for that, to be honest. But I guess it could. I guess it could be okay. This is such a finicky little angle. What if we make it really sharp? It's a matter of testing your... Yeah, because I know I have to look up some examples to get this just right, but I know some things cut really short. All right. Actually, that doesn't look too bad. Let's go ahead and save that before we lose what we've been working on. Yeah, I am going to try and make all of this exclusively mega scans, just for being completely open about it. Which of course will include RD textures. RD textures are part of the Megascans library now. So if there's something in that section, then we'll definitely use it. But we're going to definitely be using Megascans for the whole process. All right, this side turned out pretty good. All right, I think for design's sake, the quarry that we're going to do, I'll make it right in here, kind of in the middle. So somewhere around here, that way we can assume people are going to use this low-lying area for pathways and roads. So there will probably be a road along this water stream here and one over here to kind of connect to, and maybe one over there. So 3 road connections, and the quarry will cut into the side of this landscape here. And we'll do that. We'll do that next Monday, because I think I'm running out of time here, and we'll also texture it then too. I'll do some practices this week to see how I want to do the cutting stuff, and then we'll come back on Monday. So yes, I have saved it a few times, and let's see if my texture is still there. Yeah, so that's still good, and we'll be doing really fun stuff. You know, I mean, heck, I can just add so many different things real quick. Red dust. All sorts of. We'll get there. We'll definitely be adding a whole lot more fun things to the pipeline as time goes on. So before I cut the stream here, is there anything that you guys wanted to ask me? Because I'm kind of went over a little bit longer than intended, but you know how these things go. We just have a lot of fun, and we just move from there. So I'm going to save this. I've saved it probably 15 times. Let's see, world creator megascans. World composition kind of breaks. It's best to just wait for the resolution update and then do tiled import. Fun and informative. Yeah, we're definitely going to. I'm not going to worry about this sort of tiled aspect in world creator. I'm just going to create all these things individually and import the terrains as I haven't decided yet. They could be meshes, but I think I'm just going to import them as landscape actors. Each individual tile will be its own landscape actor. And then that way we can set up some, we can piece them together in Unreal Engine however we want to piece them all together. I'm even hoping to write a blueprint script where it'll, once we get them locked into a location, just like the game, it'll randomize the tiles. So we'll see how that works. I'm really wanting to make this pretty intuitive, and we may be done with this entire project by the end of this year. Who knows? But the goal is to make the whole goal of this is to design multiple biomes so that you guys can see some different processes. And I'm not a professional. I'm just as fun and interactive as this as you guys are, but at least we can figure some things out together. So with that, it's almost been an hour and a half since we've started. I shall end it here. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I will see you here next Monday.